Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. Let's talk about power. Let's talk about wealth. But most importantly, let's talk about truth. Because in an age where billionaires dominate headlines, fund elections, control media platforms, and influence narratives, it is rare, almost unheard of, to see one elite call out another as. But that's exactly what happened when Tucker Carlson, one of the most influential conservative voices in America, has stood up and publicly criticized billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman. And it wasn't just criticism, it was a blast, a full, frontal rhetorical assault that left the political world buzzing and raised real questions about who is really pulling the strings in America. Now, you may be asking what exactly happened. What did Tucker Carlson say, and why does it matter? Was it just another dramatic soundbite, or did it reveal something deeper, something uncomfortable, about the rift between conservative populism and elite power? The truth is, this wasn't just about two powerful men exchanging insults. It was a moment of reckoning, as it was a shot fired in a growing war between America's ruling class and the movement that's determined to hold them accountable. So let me walk you through it. Let me break it all down. Not just the words, but the meaning behind them. Because once we understand why Tucker Carlson went after Bill Ackman, we begin to understand something much larger. The growing tension inside the conservative movement, the changing face of American populism, and the reason why being rich, even on the right, no longer guarantees you a free pass. It happened at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit, a gathering of thousands of young conservatives, energized, frustrated, and looking for answers. Tucker Carlson took the stage, as he often does, with clarity, confidence, and the fire that's made him both famous and infamous. And during his speech, he turned his attention not to Democrats, not to Joe Biden, not to the usual leftist targets, but to someone who, on paper, might be seen as an ally, Bill Ackman. Tucker said, and I quote, "He's rich, but he's useless." That one sentence, short and sharp, carried more weight than most policy speeches given in Washington all year. Now, why would he say that? Why target a billionaire hedge fund manager who has at times aligned himself with conservative or libertarian causes? Why go after someone who has spoken out against the radical left, against anti-Semitism on college campuses, and even against woke ideology in corporate America? Isn't that what conservatives want? More influential people speaking out. On the surface, yes. But beneath the surface, there's something deeper going on, and Tucker Carlson knew exactly what he was doing. Because here's the truth. In today's America, there's a widening gulf between wealth and wisdom, between influence and action, as between what someone says on Twitter and what they do for their country. As Tucker wasn't just calling Bill Ackman useless because of his opinions. He was calling him out for what he represents as the new class of elite conservatives who speak the language of populism, but don't live its values, as the kind of wealthy figures who criticize the system but still benefit from it, who claim to fight for freedom while investing in systems that control it, as who show up late to the conversation and expect applause for their timing. Let's not forget, as Bill Ackman made his fortune in the world of high finance, Wall Street. He's a smart man, no question. He's also someone who understands how systems work, how narratives are controlled, and how institutions operate. And for years, he remained largely silent on the cultural chaos unfolding in academia, in corporate America, in media. It wasn't until the fire was already burning through our institutions that Ackman began to take a public stand. And even now, his involvement feels more like a brand pivot than a moral awakening. That's what Tucker Carlson was exposing. Because it's not enough anymore to say the right things. In this new era of American politics, where people are suffering, where institutions are breaking, where truth is under siege, words are cheap, actions matter, timing matters, Authenticity matters. And Tucker Carlson, whether you love him or hate him, has become the voice of a movement that demands more from its leaders. More courage, more sacrifice, more consistency. It's not just about being on the right side of history. It's about showing up when it counts. Now, let's be fair. Bill Ackman isn't the enemy. He's not George Soros. He's not the president of a left-wing university trying to censor speech or erase history. But in Carlson's view, that's exactly the point. The criticism wasn't personal. It was principled. Carlson was saying, if you have the wealth, if you have the voice, if you have the platform, then use it. Don't just tweet. Don't just write up EADs. Lead, risk something. Show that your convictions are more than convenience. That's the standard now. And that standard comes from a very real frustration that millions of Americans feel. The working class, the middle class, the forgotten people in forgotten towns who've watched their jobs disappear, their values mocked, their voices ignored. These Americans are tired of being told that billionaires will save them. They're tired of being sold trickle-down morality, as they want leaders who live what they preach, not just cash checks and make statements when it's safe to do so. That's why Carlson's comment hit so hard, because it wasn't just aimed at Bill Ackman. It was aimed at every elite conservative who thinks money alone makes them patriotic. So what happens now? Will Ackman respond? Will this moment fade into the noise, or will it spark a deeper conversation about the role of wealth in conservative politics? That depends on us, on how we interpret, share, and reflect on this moment. Because at the heart of Tucker Carlson's attack was a challenge to redefine what leadership looks like in the 21st century. A challenge to hold everyone accountable, even those who claim to be on our side. A challenge to stop confusing wealth with wisdom and status with sacrifice. And that's what makes this story so important. Not because it's dramatic, not because it's viral, but because it exposes the question that every American should be asking right now, as who is really fighting for you? Who's standing up for your family, your freedom, your future? And who's just pretending to care because it helps their reputation or their portfolio? That is the question Tucker Carlson put on the table. And that is the question that every billionaire, every donor, every leader, left, right, or center, needs to answer.